So, here it is, dinner.
Wow. Smells really good.
Thanks.
No, I mean, really good.
Thank you.
What is this?
Chicken?
No, I know, but I mean, what's on the... Never mind. Last week, we started seeing this marriage counselor. I'm not really into it. I've never liked psychologists. But apparently that's what you do when you're going through what Julia and I are going through. And as she's so good at subtly pointing out to me every time I start to complain about going, her sister and brother-in-law, Cheryl and Harold, have been seeing this guy for years. And it clearly works for them because Harold never walked out on Cheryl. Anyway, last week this counselor asked me, so when was the exact moment that you knew you were going to leave Julia? Now what kind of question is that, I asked him. Who has an exact moment? You just think about it more and more often until you decide to do it. No idea where it comes from, it just happens. But, you know, as soon as I said that, I knew it was a lie. We were all three having this dinner, and Sean got finished pretty quickly, so he went off to watch cartoons or something, and it was just Julia and I. And I said, dinner's good. She said, thanks. I said, good day at work? She said, yeah. You? I said, yeah. And that was it. I couldn't think of anything else to say to her in the whole world. It was like one of those awkward silences that you have when you're talking to somebody that you don't really feel like talking to, but you feel obligated to because you haven't seen them in a long time. Well, I was having that conversation with my wife. And when I stopped to think about it, I realized the last dinner had been exactly the same way. And the dinner before that. And I actually couldn't remember the last time I actually just talked to Julia. It was like we ran out of things to say to each other. I didn't know how to talk to my wife anymore. Now, I remember when we were first married and when we were first dating, I used to save up things all day long to tell her about. I couldn't wait for her to get home so I could tell her some stupid joke or what some dumbass at work had done. But you know, somewhere along the way, all of that slowly stopped happening. And for whatever reason, I knew we would never get it back. The rest of our lives would be exactly like this one stupid dinner. And if I had to spend the rest of my life like that, in that silence, I would go crazy. I was just so scared of that silence. And that was the moment that I decided to leave. You know, I hope Sean will be all right.
He seems to be getting along very well with Justin.
Well, yeah, I know, but still, you know, that first night away from home, that can be pretty scary. I remember my first time. I was younger than Sean, but still.
Actually, he spent the night at Justin's before.
Oh?
Yeah. While you were gone. And at Cheryl and Harold's a few times too, actually.
And everything went okay?
Yeah. All right.
Well then, good.
He's really growing up.
Yeah.
One day, after he'd been gone for about a month, my sister called me. She said, let's go out tonight. Harold will take care of Sean. I want you to go out with me, just the two of us, like we used to. What she really meant was, he's not worth it. And is probably not coming back. Move on. If you go out with me tonight, maybe we'll go out next week. Maybe in a month, 2 months, we'll start going to bars, clubs, like we're some stupid college girls, and not 35-year-old mothers who should know better. And then one night, when you're dancing to some music that is playing way too loud, a man will come up to you. Now, you'll reject him, of course. But in a few months, after we've replayed that scene a few dozen times, maybe you'll give him your number. And you'll be healed. It's as simple as that. It's just a straight line from you going out to dinner with me tonight to you finding life fulfillment without Frank. So what are we waiting for? Let's get going. But of course, it had only been a month. And those things weren't appropriate to say yet. So I said that Sean was sick. I didn't feel good about leaving him with Harold. Maybe next week. And do you know what she said? All right, but Julia, really, you've got to get out of that house. The house. Like the house was the problem. Like it was some sort of living, breathing being, and everything would be just fine if I could only escape the house. God, I wanted to scream at her. I don't need to get out of the house. I mean, yes, of course, the house, it reminds me of him. It reeks of him. I walk into the kitchen every morning, and I glance at the fridge, expecting to see him there. Pull into the driveway every night, coming home from work, and I still wonder, for a brief moment, why isn't he home yet? Before I have to remind myself that he isn't coming home. In the closet. Oh God, that closet smells like him. Like flannel shirts and leather jackets, and I can't go in there to pick out a dress for work without my heart breaking all over again. But Cheryl, the house is nothing. Nothing compared to Sean's face when he smiles. I mean, my God. That is Frank's face. And what do you expect me to do about that? Give away my own son? If I have to face Frank in the eyes of my own child every morning, surely you'd think I should be able to handle a big, empty, lifeless house, don't you, Cheryl? It was one night about a week after that I woke up from a dream we were making love. I woke up and I started crying. Now, not because of the dream. I mean, I didn't even remember I'd had the dream at first. I cried because I woke up and my smell, my own smell, reminded me of him. I had to go and take a shower at 3:30 in the morning so I could wash off my own smell to stop crying. So you see, I could have given away the house, given away my own child if I had to, and it wouldn't have made a difference. Because how do you forget about someone when they're soaked into your skin? When your own body reminds you of them. No. I didn't need out of the house. I needed out of myself. Cheryl invited us to dinner, by the way.
That's nice. How's she doing, by the way?
Really well, I think. She says Harold really likes his new job.
Well, it's a good job.
Anyway, they want to take us out to some new restaurant. The Twilight?
Oh, yeah. That place is really nice.
You've been there?
Well, no. But Josh's wife had a birthday party there, and Josh told me that it's really nice. You remember Josh?
Oh, yeah. Josh.
It's in her eyes. Not always the anger. Well, there's that too. But the questioning. Where was I? What did I do? Did I sleep with anyone? You know, that. It's like this big question that needs to be answered, and I don't know how. I keep hoping that she'll bring it up, but I know she won't. And you know, actually I shouldn't need her to. I should be able to tell her on my own, but how do I say, so, here's what happened for those 3 months after I left you and I thought I was never coming back. You know, the thing of it is, it's all pretty innocent. I didn't really do anything that I should be so scared to tell her about. Not that she would believe me, but I didn't. Now, I may have had a chance once, but I didn't take it. I had taken this temporary job with a moving company, and after a few weeks, some of the guys asked me if I wanted to join them later that night for a few drinks at a local bar. Now, I didn't really feel up to it, but it actually sounded a lot more exciting than spending the evening alone in my hotel room again, so I said, sure, why not? Just for a few hours, couldn't hurt. So anyway, we get to this local bar, which is apparently the only nightlife that this little town even has. And we start shooting pool, and we're talking and everything, and it's all going all right. And then, after a little while, I decide to go up to the bar and get myself another beer. And at the bar, there is this woman there. This woman is absolutely beautiful. She is every woman in every bar, in every movie that you've ever seen. Long legs, short skirt, long blonde hair. You know, she's that woman. And for whatever reason, I had this feeling that if I said something to her, I could have this woman. And let me tell you, I've never had a woman like that in my life. And why shouldn't I? I thought, I'm not going home. I'd have to start sleeping with someone else eventually. And she definitely looked like a good candidate. And you know the funny thing is, I think that was the first time I actually realized I had left Julia. You know, somewhere in the back of my mind, it all seemed like one big long vacation, and I could simply go back home anytime I wanted to. I mean, I knew I left Julia, and I meant to leave for good, but as long as I didn't sleep with somebody else, as long as in my mind I was still completely with Julia, even if she had burned all my stuff or something, I could still go home anytime I wanted to, and it'd be like none of this had ever happened. But as soon as I slept with somebody else, that was it. There was no going back. Even if she believed me, if I said I didn't, I would still know, and it would be something that I could not undo. And it would be there for the rest of our lives. Every time we made love, it would be there. 20 years from now, it would still be there. And if I didn't go back, well, then I guess it would be okay. But but I wasn't ready to make that final leap just yet. So, I got my beer, and I walked back over to shoot more pool. Now, it would be easy for me to say that even if I had gone up to that woman, she would have shot me down anyway. I've been turned down by women like that long before Julia, and the fact that I was older and still married, that wouldn't have helped things. But that's not the point. Because even if that's true, that's not what stopped me. That's not what held me back. The fact that I didn't even try, was completely because of my feelings for Julia.
Actually, I ran into Josh's wife at Sean's school not that long ago.
Oh, yeah. Josh told me that his daughter is in Sean's class.
She's a nice woman. Did you know she's from Indiana?
No? No, I never really had a chance to talk to her that much.
Yeah. Grew up 50 miles from where my parents live.
That's nice.
The thing that I hate most about this whole mess is that I'm afraid I've become his horrible parent. Now, I still make sure Sean's fed, to school on time, picked up, put to bed, all that. But I don't want to anymore. God, that sounds awful. I love my son more than anything. I mean, before all this happened, I loved every moment that I spent with him. And every moment that I was away from him, I was thinking about him, hoping he was having fun, planning some sort of outing for us. I've been a great mom. But now, all of that time that I spent thinking about Sean, I spent thinking about Frank. Okay, no. Not Frank. I spend it thinking about me. How hurt I am and angry I am and scared. For the first time since I found out I was pregnant with Sean, there are moments when he's not even in the smallest corners of my mind. It's almost like parts of me forget that I have a son at all. I want so badly to be the mother I was. See, we went to the library yesterday, but it feels like there's this wall between us now. I act like I enjoy spending time with him, but I don't really. God, that sounds awful. And it's not that he's difficult. He is the sweetest, gentlest child I've ever known. And even at his worst, it would be impossible for me to ever really be annoyed with him. I just don't enjoy spending time with anyone now. Most times, I'd rather be alone in my room. I'm so mad at Frank for leaving like that. In spite of how angry I am at him for leaving me, what he did to Sean was 1,000 times worse. But the thing is, in a way, I love Sean too. At least when Frank came back, he came back. He was a father again, and things with him and Sean were just the way they were before he left. But my leaving was much less tangible than that. And I don't know how to fix it. At least when Frank was gone, Sean knew it. Now, he may not have known why or for how long, but he knew his father was not there anymore. me. I let him think he has a mother here, when I'm really gone too.
Have you spoken to your parents lately?
Talked to Mom last week.
How are they?
Really good, I think. Well, Dad's back problems are acting up again. Probably because of the weather. Actually, they were talking about coming down for a visit in a month or two.
You know what? They should. It's been a long time since they've seen Sean. It's really getting big.
Yeah, he really is.
You know what? Maybe they could come down for Christmas. Cheryl and Harold could come over for dinner as well.
That would be nice.
One night, I was driving along the highway, listening to some shitty country music station out in the sticks, and I came across this really old, run-down cafe. You know, the kind that's mostly for truckers, with all the neon lights and everything. It's the kind of place where you imagine going in and sitting down and being served stale coffee by some waitress with a big red bun of hair named Marge. And I thought to myself, Julia would love this place. Anybody else would just see an old rundown cafe, but Julia would see romance in this place. And you know, the funny thing is, I saw it too. I saw all the old period films that could be made there. I saw the red and white checkered tablecloths. I saw the waitresses walking around with their hands on their hips and popping their gum and saying, "So what can I get you, honey?" to some sleepy old truck driver. And I was in love with it all. Because I knew that Julia would be in love with it all. And it was at that moment that I realized, I guess that's what love is. It's seeing the world through the eyes of another person. And I remember back when we were first married, I was the only guy that I knew that actually enjoyed buying his wife birthday, Christmas, or Valentine's Day gifts because I knew exactly what she would want. It was as easy as shopping for myself. I knew what she would think was corny, what she would think was romantic. It was almost as if her feelings were my feelings. And I realized, if I could see the beauty in an old run-down cafe, then I was more in love with my wife than ever before. And I realized how lucky I had been to even find a love like that in the first place. And how seldom it comes along. And if I blew it now, I would probably never get another chance like that for the rest of my life. And I knew I had to get home as soon as possible. So I went. God, I wish I could tell her that story. You know what? Speaking of restaurants.
Were we speaking of restaurants?
Yeah, the Twilight.
Oh yeah, the Twilight.
Anyway, speaking of restaurants, there's this really cute place I'd like to take you to. Now, it's a bit of a drive. It's about 40 miles or so, but I'd really like to take you there. Maybe tomorrow night.
Oh, I don't know if that's such a good idea. All my good clothes are at the dry cleaners.
Well, you know, actually, you don't have to get dressed up.
Oh. I still don't know if tomorrow would work. It's a school night. Wouldn't want Sean to be out so late. It's probably too late to get a sitter.
Yeah, probably is. Well, maybe later.
Definitely. Later. Maybe this weekend.
Sure. This weekend.
When he walked through that door, that was the strangest moment in my life. I mean, every second of every day from the day he left, I had been dreaming of that moment. And I knew just how it would be. He'd come through the door with some kind of flower, some roses maybe, and he'd say, "Julia, I came home. I'm sorry. Forgive me." And the thing is, it was exactly the way it played out in my head. Roses and all. Everything was just what I'd been praying for. Except for me. All of those times that I'd imagined it, I wanted him so badly that I ran to him and I held him for a long, long time. And I said, "It's all right, my love. I forgive you. Now we can move on, pretend this never happened." But once he was actually standing there, all I could think of to say was, "You son of a bitch. You have no right to come home now. You can't just leave me for 3 months to cry myself to sleep every night, all alone, without even a fucking note, and then just take it all back and expect me to act like it never happened." No, Frank. Once you hurt someone that badly, you can't just change your mind. So I sat there for about 30 seconds, trying really hard not to punch him in the face. Until finally, I realized I should probably say something. So I said something. I said, "Hi." You see, you have to understand, all those nights alone in our bed, I missed him so badly. I couldn't think straight. All of those times that I prayed for him to come back, I didn't know what I was asking for. I just didn't know. I'll never get used to this weather.
Still warm in November.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, you know, a lot of people think that Indiana weather at this time of year is insane, but to each their own.
Yeah, well, I guess it's just a matter of what you grow up with. I mean, it's sort of disturbing. Not being able to tell what time of year it is by looking outside. I can't explain it. Now, it's not that I'm angry with him. I am, of course. So much that sometimes I think I'll kill him. But hey, I know that could go away in a few months. Or years. I don't have the energy to stay mad at him forever. I mean, anger passes, and I really do want to forgive him. I feel like I could learn to forgive him. And if I thought it was worth it, well, I'd be willing to give it a try. Well, that's it, I guess. It's just not worth it to me. I know him too well. I know him to be a man who would leave me with our 6-year-old child without any explanation, with the intention of never coming back. And even if he never does it again, even if he somehow manages to convince me that he'll never do it again, he'll still be that man every time I look at him. Now, I don't hate that man. And I may even grow to like him. But I refuse to spend the rest of my life loving someone that even for a moment wasn't sure he felt the same way about me. I don't want that life. How do you fix things with someone you have nothing left to say to? We've become nothing but one long, silent, awkward dinner after another. You can't make a relationship out of that. You can't build a life out of that. So, that's why I've decided that tomorrow I'm going to pick up Sean from his friend's house, and I'm leaving.